Hello, my friend. This is Riley Davison, and I thank you for listening to BravoZuluRadio.com. It is Friday, June the 12th, 2020, and I wanted to bring you three things real quick as we wrap up the week. So this is from the BusinessInsider.com. As eviction bans across the country start to lift, the U.S. could face an eviction apocalypse. So basically, I want to bring you this whole thing real quick. At least 44 million Americans have filed for unemployment in the past 3 months as the coronavirus pandemic devastated industries such as retail and hospitality. Many who lost jobs were unable to pay their rent or utilities, prompting state and federal governments to issue a temporary ban on evictions. But those bans are set to expire this summer, leaving many people at risk of losing their homes. All right, so into it. The United States is preparing to deal with yet another crisis, an eviction crisis. On Thursday, Business Insider's Carmen Reinecke reported that 44 million Americans have filed for unemployment in the last 12 weeks. The mass layoffs and cratering industries have left many unable to pay their rent or utilities due to lack of income. Because of the financial crisis the pandemic has caused, the federal government put a temporary ban on evictions in federally assisted properties, set to last until July 25th. Individual states like Michigan, Louisiana, and Pennsylvania had their own eviction moratoriums, but those have expired or are set to expire soon, with no extensions in place. Michigan's moratorium expired on June the 11th, while Louisiana's and Pennsylvania's are expected to expire on June 15th and July 10th, respectively. The extra funds the stimulus bill extended to Americans are also running out. At the end of July, the extra $600 per week in federal unemployment benefits will expire, and there's no confirmation yet whether additional stimulus checks are coming. This is the money that has been allowing people who lost their jobs to continue paying their rent. CNBC's Alicia Adamczyk reports the loss of extra income in conjunction with the end of eviction moratoriums may cause a nationwide eviction crisis, or worse. Aaron Carr, founder and executive director of the Housing Rights Initiative, told CNBC that evicting people right now during an ongoing pandemic could turn, quote, a catastrophe into an apocalypse, unquote. Homeless shelters in the United States are not set up for social distancing. The pandemic has had a devastating impact on renters since the outbreak and subsequent lockdown measures first began in the U.S. in March. Between March the 25th and April the 10th, the Urban Institute found that almost half of the renters between the ages of 18 and 64 had trouble paying their rent or utilities, were food insecure, or couldn't afford necessary medical care. And this issue was far more pronounced in some communities than others. In May, the Institute found that 25% of Black and Latino renters deferred or could not pay their rent, compared to just 14% of white renters. Now, Axios, citing the weekly U.S. Census survey, which measures the impact the pandemic has had on Americans, reported that 1/5 of adults said in May that they were unsure whether they'd be able to pay their rent or mortgage in June. As Carr told CNBC, evicting people from their homes could lead them into homelessness or unstable housing, which could raise their risk of catching COVID-19. Mass evictions could also create a mental health crisis, causing an emotional and mental strain on those who lost their shelter and who could end up food insecure. Evicting people also generally ruins credit, which may make it harder to find new housing, especially during a pandemic. All of these factors could result in an eviction apocalypse, with widespread evictions leading to a surge in homelessness and rising COVID-19 infections throughout the country. Even though activists have been pushing for reforms on rental assistance and cancellation, states have been slow to adopt such measures. A glimmer of hope could be the HEROES Act, which has an extension of the nationwide moratorium on evictions that would last 12 months. The bill was passed by the House in May, but has stalled in the Senate. All right. So I also wanted to bring you this straight from Bexar County, a second wave and a warning as coronavirus cases rise in Bexar County. 192 new cases reported Thursday is the largest local spike reported in a single day since the pandemic started. San Antonio, local officials are sounding the alarm. Bexar County is in a reported second wave of coronavirus cases. All right. Metro Health Director I'm skipping through. Metro Health Director Dr. Dawn Emmerich said people are becoming more complacent. We are entering a second wave, she said. She said she has seen more people not wearing their masks or practicing social distancing. We better worry right now what is happening, Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf said. And so, overall, Dr. Emmerich said we can make some association that perhaps this was a result of Memorial Day weekend. The holiday weekend was really the start of reopening the state, Dr. Emmerich made it clear. The holiday weekend was really the start of reopening the state. Dr. Emmerich made it clear. Protesters hitting the streets for racial and social injustice are not part of the equation as of now. Is this spike because of the protests, she said? No, it is too early. The way that the whole process of exposure and incubation. All right. Now, I really don't think, at least some people across the country, think it's quite that bad. So I wanted to bring you this as well before we wrap up for the week. Some strip clubs offering coronavirus-free lap dances. And this from Michael Bartiromo from Fox Business. And I'll just skip through this a little bit. Gentlemen's clubs are taking measures to protect guests as the country reopens, but are they enough to strip away their customers' fears? The nation's strip clubs, as largely non-essential businesses, were forced to close or rethink their operations after the coronavirus health crisis began to grip the nation earlier in this year. But while some found new ways to keep workers employed, like the ones in Portland that pivoted to food delivery and drive-through pole dances, most were completely devastated by the shutdown. We went to zero cash flow within a matter of weeks, coming from a period when business was doing extremely well, said Ryan Carlson. From a business standpoint, this was devastating, not just due to the immediate lack of cash flow, but the inability to continue paying our teams that are the lifeblood of our business, he told Fox Business. There's nothing worse than having to tell your employees that they have to fend for themselves for an indefinite amount of time. Entertainers suffered just as much because of sex worker discrimination by all levels of government, he said. In many cases, dancers were prohibited from participating in government aid programs. And then it goes on to describe a particular club in New York. And they go in to wrap up, while we do not require guests to wear masks, we strongly encourage that practice and do provide complimentary masks, said Carlson, who added that some states require additional procedures, of which the Deja Vu's clubs consistently comply. And yet, social distancing protocol doesn't extend to the club's lap dances, at least not in states that have outright forbidden them via mandated COVID-19 guidelines. And here they wrap it up. Lap dances will always exist until the end of time, said Carlson, who said the practice largely continues as normal in states with no restrictions against it. The government cannot easily, or rightfully, prohibit two consenting individuals from engaging in a lawful business transaction, he said. To that end, one of Deja Vu's clubs in Las Vegas, Little Darlings, is advertising coronavirus-free lap dances, to lure customers, which, as Carlson explains, are just normal lap dances, albeit performed by dancers who have undergone temperature checks upon arriving at work. The club also jokingly teases nude hand sanitizer wrestling, performed in normal lubricant, not in hand sanitizer, as part of its efforts to regain clientele. So you can see, as I said, America is reopening, and we have a couple of bugs that we need to work out, but it looks like, as far as it's concerned with the gentlemen's clubs, that they've got everything in hand. So the rest of us, let's hope, let's pray that we all do what we need to do to stay safe and stay out of the men's clubs. This is Riley Davison. I thank you for listening to Bravo Zulu Radio, and you have a great weekend. Thank you.